I just want to let you know these guys are going to be huge. I'm talking major label huge. These guys are going to be big. You're going to love them.
Hi everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Relatively Funny, the podcast where two sisters and one brother share their interests with one another. And today, we're recording episode number 7, and I can't believe that we are 7 weeks old.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast is 7 weeks old, so we skipped a week of recording, and this is our first time hanging out since, and I missed you guys. So let's start with talking about what we've been listening to and what we've been drinking. Or
what we've been drinking.
I'm sorry, what we're drinking.
Okay.
So I have a white chocolate Americano with cream and some water. And this week was Educational Support Professionals Week. So that's me. And each day this week we were so spoiled by the whole certified team. I got cards and gifts, and each day had a theme. So Monday was like candy. Tuesday my coworker made homemade salsa and chips for chips and dip. And Wednesday we had a little brunch with fruit and muffins. Thursday they brought us each a coffee. And then yesterday they bought us lunch and dessert. It was so nice.
What did you got for lunch?
It was the pasta from the Pasta del Sol.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh,
so good.
Did they take your orders or just do like family style?
Just family style,
Oh, okay.
like kind of like what we did for Haley's birthday.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice.
It like literally exactly the same, and it was it was perfect. And so I had to take a walk after because I had a lot of pasta and a lot of dessert, so it was good. Yeah, but I just felt very appreciated, so
Good, you are appreciated.
it's very nice, and I love my team.
Educational support. What was it?
Professionals. Because I'm a professional.
Mm-hmm.
And no, but thank you. So it was really nice, and I've been listening to old seasons of Passages with Robbie and Amanda because I just wanted to laugh. But I've started listening to Two Girls, One Ghost again, and I just forget how much I love Sabrina and Corinne. Yeah, that's it's Two Girls, One Ghost.
Nice.
I love them. They're so funny. You should listen though, because they have they're like the most haunted podcast. Like people who.
I remember you saying that. That makes me not want to listen because I don't want that bad energy.
No, like people who record with them experience things after. It's really interesting. So
Any little bit of that.
you should listen.
That'd be cool.
I've listened to so many. I've never had any issues, but oh, you're oh yeah, my ghost cat. I did have a ghost cat. I swear I still have one because
I'm sure you do.
I see, like, literally, I'll see from the corner of my eye, it'll look like Leo's walking in, and then I look to go greet him and go, "Oh, Leo, hi," you know, and nothing will be there. So, and
huh? I don't want that.
Oh, but ghost cat's nice. It's not like a demon or anything.
No, still, it's just I don't want any energy that isn't. I'm not welcoming that energy into my home.
That's fair. That's fair.
But
Did
it
I?
does sound like an interesting podcast.
Well, did I tell you guys when I was walking downstairs one time and I walked through something
No.
at this townhouse? I
feel like, you did say that.
So, and it scared me to pieces. I was walking downstairs just to take Jasper out. Like, it was just before bed. Chris was in bed.
That's a creepy time.
And it was like 8 o'clock. Shouldn't be creepy.
It's dark.
Okay, well, it was dark, but I was walking downstairs, and it was like it was the weirdest feeling because it was like this transparent, like, face, and I just walked through it.
Like Harry Potter.
Yeah. When
Quirrell. Is that his name?
Quirrell?
Yeah,
Quirrell?
I was thinking of when
Professor Quirrell.
when they go in 7, I think part 1 or 2, and the Dumbledore sand comes in their
Okay,
face
Totally.
to the house.
Voldemort stand?
Oh yeah,
No,
yes.
no.
When they walk,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, it was like that, but way. I mean, and I stopped at the stairs like right after I walked through, and I was like, "Was that real?" Because I didn't know how to explain it either, and so because I went back upstairs and I was like, "Honey, something weird just just happened," and he's like, "I don't want to hear it."
Yeah.
And then he's like, I want to sleep.
Yeah.
So I was like, but I can't stop thinking about it. I just walked through a face. But I couldn't tell you what the face looked like. It was the weirdest thing. So anyway,
Did you see it before you walked into it, or you just felt it?
no,
you
as
walked?
I was
How do
walking,
you know it was a face?
I just knew.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, sometimes you know.
I don't know.
No explanation.
So anyway, maybe Two Girls, One Ghost is haunted, and maybe that is something that I need to
Yeah.
address. But it's fine. Nothing's harmed me, so we're good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what have you guys been listening to these past few weeks, and what are you drinking today?
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, hold on. I want to see if what your microphone is doing.
Is that normal looking? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
100%.
Oh my gosh.
You
Okay.
always have something. Always have
Yeah.
something happen. Cool.
Okay, Carson.
Okay. Well, I'm drinking my protein smoothie shake thing and water. And this week I did want to bring this up. This has been a crazy week and a half for Seahawk fans. We made a lot of moves.
I've heard that.
A lot of moves.
Do you need to hold my hand?
No, it's okay.
to get through it.
No, that's all right. I think
Do you
they'll
need
just
some tissues?
make it
Is it
real.
good? Changes?
So I'm gonna try to go through this quick.
Okay.
So we got rid of two receivers and a quarterback, and I mean that is like
That changes the whole team,
2/3
huh?
of an offense right there. Quarterback is the foundation of a team,
Wow.
and we had a pretty good one. He's pretty good, Geno Smith. I liked him, but then we also signed a new quarterback who had one good season, and so
Just one.
I think, yeah, honestly, because he has a very similar story to Geno Smith, who was our quarterback, and so they were both backups for a while who got a chance to play, and they did pretty good, and so we're taking a bit of a gamble on him, and then we signed two new receivers. One receiver came from our rivals.
Oh, dang.
Who has been on their team for like since 2017, and so
Wow.
but he came to us, and he's pretty good. He won a Super Bowl with them, and we're paying him half of what we paid DK Metcalf. Would have had to pay DK Metcalf, who we let go.
Because he was too expensive or what?
Yeah, things just didn't work out. He wanted to trade, so we're paying him half of what we would have paid him, which is good. Oh, and he's from Yakima, our new
Wow.
receiver.
Okay.
So he played for Eastern, and so we saved a lot of money. We got a lot more draft picks, so it's good. But it's just like it's super different, and
The
usually
politics are so interesting of that. I've never thought about it.
yeah, and so it's weird because the plan was like all off season. Our coaches were like, "Oh, we're gonna make DK Metcalf the focal point of this offense. You know, Geno's gonna be the guy." And then things happen, and we move on from people. They want out. They want to go to different teams. So it's different. I'm excited. I'm nervous, and it's gonna be different. Oh, and we have a new offensive coordinator too, so it's gonna look so different. And usually, like Seattle doesn't do like big things like that. You know, we'll get a couple new guys or whatever, but we usually hold on to players just hoping that they get better. And then when they don't, we get rid of them years later.
That's so sad.
And so-
It's sad for everybody.
It is, yeah.
We
but
really try to root for the underdog. Like
do.
we try really hard.
yeah. But anyway, but like I was just thinking, like imagine if you're a huge Seahawk fan and you go into a coma March like 5th, and then you wake up today,
Yeah.
you're like, what just happened? Obviously,
Everything's
obviously
different.
that's not going to be your biggest concern, but
Yeah.
I would be like,
Would be a
what
shock.
we have Cooper Kupp, our rival. Anyway,
Ooh, Cooper. Cooper Cup.
yeah,
Is that his
Anyway.
last name? Cup.
yeah. That's my
Nice.
receiver. Don't make fun of me. I'm just kidding. So anyway,
Cut that.
that's been crazy. Just keeping up with that, but
Yeah.
music, nothing's really changed. John Mayer, Mazzy Star, Coldplay, The National, and a lot of other people because I've just been driving my car a lot, so
No.
just throw on random. Well, I'm just going to Spokane and whatnot. So
Nice.
yeah. Anyway, it's been crazy, and that's it for me.
Nice. Good summary.
Thank you.
Well, I am drinking my all-time favorite vanilla sweet cream cold brew with vanilla cold foam from Starbucks. It's what Anthony and I get. Well, that's our, like, when we want to go back to basics, that's our drinks. Those are our drinks that we get. So we both got one today, and they are delicious. So good. Sometimes we both branch out, and he usually gets Dutch Bros lately, but we both went to Starbucks and got our normals, and it is so good. But big shocker, I haven't been drinking coffee this week. I literally started drinking coffee again on Thursday, and it's only been Thursday, yesterday, and today that I've had coffee because
Just has your tummy been on the fritz?
yeah, like literally a week ago, I was like upstairs, like bedridden, and I had thrown up 8 times the night before. It was so horrible, and I have not felt normal since. So coffee was one of the last things I drank before I threw up the first time. And so it like scarred me to drink it again. And so it took up until Thursday to drink coffee. So
How
now
does
I'm
it
back
feel?
on coffee. Oh, she's so good. I missed it. I missed it so much. But it's like, it has to be like a perfect coffee. Like if it's not super delicious, then I can't drink it. It kind of grosses me out. It's weird. My tummy's just like really grossed out by things lately because I'm so scared of like upsetting my tummy.
Yeah.
Trauma from throwing up.
Yeah.
But
You
We're
probably saved.
violently ill.
yeah, it was
Oh, yeah.
horrible. But yeah, I haven't gone to the week. I haven't gone to the gym in a week because of that too. Just because with the time change and not feeling good, I just haven't wanted to get up at 4:40 and go because that's just rough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really haven't been listening to much music. I've been listening to like my normal stuff in the car, like Lotto and Ice Spice and Sweetie. That's pretty much it. But I've
Nice.
only been driving to work and back, and then that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So yeah, next week will be better. And I'll
Yeah.
be back on the normal, hopefully.
For sure.
I was going to go to the gym this morning, but, we accidentally slept until 9, and I
It
didn't have
happens.
time. So
You needed
I'll
it.
try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I remember when I was sick like, years ago.
Sorry.
I mean, I must have been like 10 or 11. And the last thing I ate was Papa Murphy's.
Yeah.
And I took like, I don't know, like a month off of
Yeah.
Papa Murphy's, which is probably good, but I was like, that. I mean, that's like my favorite
That
pizza.
was your
Yeah.
diet,
like,
though.
Yeah,
It was. Uh-huh.
Pizza every day.
Yeah,
but,
I know it's weird how that kind of stuff scars you. And like peanut butter, that was one of the things that I ate that day. And now it's like the smell of it grosses me out. It's just weird. And now when I walk up in that bathroom where I threw up so many times, I feel like I have PTSD in a way of like, I feel like I still smell like throw-ups. I don't. It's not
Yeah,
in there.
yeah.
I've cleaned it crazily,
You're like-
but it still like makes my body like be like, ugh.
This is where it went down.
This is where it happened.
Yeah.
It's so silly. We all just have this
Right over
crazy
there.
fear of throwing up.
Yeah, in our family, we all have a lot of issues because I feel like when we are ill and sick like that, it's violent. It's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
a normal. Bleh.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Like some people will just throw up like sometimes and be like, okay, now I feel better. I can go about my
Like,
day.
oh, it's
Like,
fine.
something
Yeah.
upset their tummy and they'll throw up. But no, it's
No.
like, it's only when we're sick and it's really sick.
like and it's after you've exhausted every option. Like
Yeah.
we've tried Pepto, we've tried
Yeah.
the ginger, we've
Yeah.
tried like
Ugh.
anything you can
Yeah.
think of, and it's like it's just a huge fear for us. So
Yeah.
it's horrible
Well, and the
that
worst part, I don't even know if I told you guys this, but I threw up in my car driving home too, which is horrible. Isn't that awful? It was so awful. It was like, I didn't think I was going to because I was at mom's. I was trying to take care of mom because she just had surgery.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I think I'm going to throw up. And I threw up over there twice. And then I was like, okay, I have 10 minutes. I'm going to get home because I felt okay for 10 minutes after I threw
I
up.
offered to come
No,
get
you
you.
guys, you did and Anthony did too, but I was like, no, I'm just
10 minutes.
I couldn't even like, I was such a blur in my head. I was like, I just have to go
Yeah.
right now.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
I started
For
driving
sure.
and I was like, Uh-oh.
Well, because
Yeah.
I have emesis bags. Like, it's
Oh.
like the bags
The
that
blue
they
ones?
give you at
wow.
the hospital to throw up in.
Wow,
I got them
that's good.
when I had surgery because I had
Yeah,
thrown up when they
yeah.
took the breathing tube out.
Yeah.
And so they just gave me some for the ride home, and I still
Yeah.
have them, so I just
That's
keep them for
good.
road trips and
Oh yeah,
stuff.
Yeah,
that's-
that's
those are
good.
great.
So,
Necessary.
oh, you poor
was
thing,
horrible.
though.
Yeah, that sucks.
I ruined one of my reusable shopping bags.
Oh, damn.
TMI.
Oh, you
But
know
I really
what,
thought I was
though?
gonna be fine. Like that one, yeah, it did not follow the normal like 10-minute rule of me feeling good for a couple minutes.
And at least it was like, I mean, that is not the worst
Yeah.
story you could have had. I mean, you could
Yeah.
have,
Oh yeah, for sure.
like, that's a very,
yeah.
you know, you were lucky
Like,
you
I'm
were
gonna be all right. I'm
alone
gonna
and
be
you
all
had a
right.
bag to
Yeah.
throw up in.
Oh yeah. Imagine if I didn't have a bag.
I would have just stopped and opened the door and,
That
Oh,
would have
yeah.
been smart, but I thought I was gonna pass out too. So
oh, see, well,
jeez.
it was real bad.
this is why, okay, next
I know.
time I'm just coming to
Yeah.
pick you
I
up
know, yeah.
and you don't get a
Hopefully
choice.
That never happens again.
Yes.
knock on wood.
I should have
Anyway.
just come over and gotten you.
No, it was. I wouldn't have let you guys. I was too stubborn.
Yeah,
So,
you were.
I'm like, I
that's
just have to do it. It's fine.
You
and
were
then
on
I got home and
fight
I
or
was,
flight.
Yeah, I literally
Yeah.
was. I got home and Anthony was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Go get me jammies right now, please." Please.
I need Jimmy
He's
stat.
like, "What kind?" I'm like, "I don't care.
Please, please.
I just
Yeah.
need to go lay down."
You're like crawling in. Jammies.
It was so awful. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's continue.
Well, I'm so glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, me too.
That was,
Because-
thank you. I do not need to be that dramatic about it. Everybody gets the stomach flu sometimes, but it's just dramatic. It's a lot.
It's awful. It's awful.
Well, yeah, I mean I don't know. Just the situation of it. You're at mom's,
Yeah.
taking care of someone, and then all of a sudden you just start feeling
Yeah.
crappy, and then
And the kids are terrified of me.
Yeah.
Oh, Liv was texting me like, "Come
Poor
get her.
thing.
Like,
Yeah.
come get
it's
her."
so funny.
Get her out.
I remember being like, I don't think I'm really scared of throwing
Yeah.
up anymore, but
Oh, really?
As
I'm
a,
not
as a
scared of
kid,
other people, but for me,
For me
Oh.
personally,
Yeah.
I can't do
I see
it.
kids
Other
throw up
people's
all
fine.
the time. Yeah.
yeah,
Like Liv and Charlie, when they were growing up, if they ever had to throw up, I'd be like, rubbing their
Yeah,
backs,
yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and because I remember one time, I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Charlie, but he was really ill, so we had like a garbage like out for him if he had to throw up, and I just remember catching
Yeah.
it,
Gotta do
But
it.
yeah, but for me personally, I can't do it.
I
It
gotcha.
scares me.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I don't
What were you
know.
gonna
I think.
say, Chris?
Oh no, I think that was.
sorry.
It, but no, no, that was it. But I mean, well, yeah. Obviously, like as a kid, I hated seeing other people throw up. But I remember in like basic training, people would throw up like every day, and
Wow.
just like the food or
Yeah.
whatever it was, like
Yeah.
it was like
really,
normal. Yeah. There's. I remember when we came back from, like when we came back for Christmas, and then we came back, like we were eating breakfast, and it just didn't hit the same. And this, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of gross. Do you guys
you
want to hear?
can, yeah, you can.
This-
nothing bothers me.
So we had like little plastic trays, and this girl was eating, and she threw up in the tray, and she was
poor
like,
thing.
she was like the platoon guide. Like we had two people who would like eat facing the platoon, and I was like, ooh.
Oh, how horrible.
Anyway,
How awful!
yeah.
God.
You're like, ooh.
And then AIT too. It like extreme heat.
Yeah.
People were
You
throwing
guys
up
are
every
really
day.
going
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So it's normal,
What about
Casual.
like,
casual.
yeah, now do you guys feel like it's, I mean, we're just saying that you don't really get scarred by seeing people throw up, but it doesn't really bother you guys anymore. I mean, Carson obviously
No.
not, but it doesn't bother you like if Chris throws up or something?
No, it
No.
doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of grew out of that pretty quickly because when we were little, we all got sick a lot.
You got really sick though. Like you were the thrower upper. So
I
I
was.
wasn't, I feel like if,
Many a time.
if it still bothers
hospitalized.
you, yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense. I remember you having to sleep by the bathroom because you would throw up so
That's true,
bad.
yeah.
Mom would
So
sleep next to me,
sad,
mom or
yeah.
dad, like someone
On the ground.
on the ground.
So
And it all
awful.
was, oh yeah, it was awful. I remember like the one time when I was very ill and I was hospitalized and like like my nurses bought me something at the gift shop
Yeah.
because they felt so bad for me. I was like 7.
Yeah, Yeah, you
Yeah.
really bonded with that one nurse. For
Yes,
sure.
the one
Aw.
who finally, after 16 tries, getting the IV, and she was the only one who could find a
Oh
vein.
my
Gosh.
gosh.
And I remember laying there, I remember the room. I was
Ugh.
flat on my back, my arms were at my side, and I was so little. I mean, and I remember it was a white room, and I didn't even feel it anymore.
Yeah.
And
Poor little baby Emmy.
I know. And I remember seeing like Grandma and Grandpa looking in the room and like thinking I was going to die.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, that's
And
scary.
it was very scary, but and like Fern Gully was on, and
What's that?
it's an old like Disney movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like an
Huh.
animated movie. I think it's like about conservation or something, like in the forests or so. It's but anyway, that was on, and I just remember like passing out, and that was it. So
So sad.
yeah, it was very, very awful. So that's why I am so afraid of throwing up myself. But
Yeah.
other people, it doesn't bother
yeah,
me.
yeah, that's fair.
16 tries. I
Isn't
feel like
that
you would
crazy?
have gone to a different method of access.
Well,
like
I was
that.
so
Yeah.
dehydrated. They
Yeah.
couldn't find, and my veins are so. God, I wish we could do an ultrasound to show you how weird my
Yeah.
veins are, because they like go through an artery. Like it's a really weird. Like they're weaved in there like a basket.
Oh,
It's
so
really
there's
interesting.
a
You
reason
have-
that they're so different.
windy veins.
Yes,
Yeah.
very. And so
I thought you
um,
just had them. Like I thought it was just a trait. I didn't know that it was like there's an actual reason.
Well, and they are very tiny anyway, but it's just, even if I am like super hydrated, and sorry, we're going on forever about this if anyone finds it interesting, but
yeah.
but yeah, so it was.
It is so cloudy right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it is. It
Going
keeps
back
getting
into
It's
dark.
like 5, looks like 6 p.m. right now.
Yes, it is very dark. It's kind of like where feels apocalyptic.
It's so
'cause
dark.
We're like having a
Where'd the
campfire.
sun go?
We are. It is a campfire.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're telling ghost stories.
Yeah.
Horror stories
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
past traumas. But yeah, no, when I was getting my surgery, I was telling the guy who was going to be giving me my IV, I remember being like, hey, look, I have really bad veins,
Yeah.
and I've been told that you should try an ultrasound if you want to find them.
Right
and huh?
It's bright now.
I know, it keeps switching so much. It'll be interesting to watch this back
Yeah.
and see it just
Yeah.
go, it's light,
like
dark,
a
light,
movie,
dark.
like back
Yes.
and forth.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Theater.
you're good. And so he was doing the ultrasound, and I didn't watch him actually like poke me, but I watched in the ultrasound, and literally it just showed you where my vein was, and you could see these 3 little tiny veins like weaving through. Like it was,
Roots. Those are your roots.
it did look like little roots, and they're so tiny. And he did it first try because he had the ultrasound, because like that was a good call, because that would not have been easy with where your veins are located in your arm. And so it's like, oh, well, there we
That's
go.
so good that you know that you can tell them. Like,
Well,
you know.
but I've had my blood drawn since then, and people just can't figure it out. Like they go in my hands,
Yeah.
and I've had someone go in my wrist before,
Yeah.
which is
Lower
not, you're not
hurts.
supposed to.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Huh?
didn't know that.
Like lower, like up here doesn't hurt as bad as down
Yeah.
here. in the
Yeah,
hands.
it's normally, I have a scar on some of my hands here from the blood draws, but yeah, I heard that you're not supposed to do the wrist right here, but that's where she went one time. So
I mean,
you
if
know.
you have to.
Horses.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the ultrasound, it's interesting because well, it's good. It's
Yeah,
hard.
have you ever done that before?
Once, yeah,
Okay.
but I've never done an arterial poke, which is usually when they bring out the ultrasound, and so it's cool when you push down. Ones that are pulsating are arteries, and so, but even with that, it can still be tough. So it's cool that he got that first try, but
Yeah, he was so nice. Probably like everyone there was so nice. The only one who wasn't nice was in my recovery room, and she was like, "Okay, time to get up." And I was like,
oh,
Your
that
most
sucks.
fragile
Yeah.
state.
yeah. And Chris was like, "I think she needs a minute," because I was still
Yeah.
like, "Wah," like passed out, like waking up from anesthesia.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Okay, time to get dressed," and I was like,
Oh my gosh, that's
and
so
Yeah,
Chris
that's
like
terrible.
helped me up, and
Poor sis.
and I was like, I can't do it. And she's like, yes, you can. And so, and I was like, can I have a minute? And she goes, you can have a minute. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
okay.
That's so
I'm
annoying.
sad. That
Yeah.
like, brings tears to my eyes.
Oh no, it's
my
okay.
gosh,
I
don't
well,
like
and
it.
yeah, it was awful. It was just an awful
Yeah.
Horrible
emergency
time.
surgery anyway. So, but anyway, so that aside, we're all healthy now.
Yeah.
and
That 15-minute
yeah,
rabbit hole or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah. So what brings us here today, what gathers us here today, is the story that I'm going to be telling you. And I'm going to be talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident. And I first heard about this case. It's an old case. It took place in the 50s, but I first heard of this case back in 2021. So, and that was listening to Morbid, the podcast, but that episode came out in 2018. I hadn't really gotten into podcasts until after the no, it was still during the pandemic, but like early 2021, and it was when I started my cleaning business because I
You needed something to listen to all day.
yeah, and I listened to so much music while I was cleaning. I'm like, I need something different. So I started listening to podcasts, and I think this was the first episode of Morbid.
Oh, wow.
And it was like the first podcast that I listened to because they did a case from our town, and it was a really recent one. And so I'm the kind of person where I have to start from the beginning. So I worked my way up to that episode. And yeah, and I've loved Morbid ever since. But from 2018, there have been new discoveries and information provided to the public about this case. So, and the information in this case could be entirely its own podcast itself, like with many different episodes. Like that's how much information there is. But today I'm going to be discussing Dyatlov Pass, the timeline of events, the autopsies of the hikers and what the autopsies tell us, and go over a few hundred theories of, what actually happened to these students.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so can you give us context on who these people were too before they even started?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Don't worry. This
Okay.
is I did a lot of research, like probably, the most research I'd done since
School.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, it's a 17-page document. So,
Dang.
but I'll just try to breeze through it.
Okay.
Cool.
This might be a long one. But it's all really interesting information. And I will say, if you do look this up and you do see images, just know that you could come across the actual autopsy photos and the pictures of the hikers because they are preserved. And so when they were found, they were preserved in the snow. So just FYI, I did look through all of them. It's fascinating.
Wow.
But if that's not your cup of tea, then I would highly suggest not Googling that.
That's a good warning.
Yep. So we'll start at the beginning. Also, I'm going to do my absolute best with these names. But this, we'll do our best. Don't judge me if I pronounce things wrong. And if I do pronounce things wrong, you can call me out. It's fine. I'll just do my best. So anyway, in 1959, 9 students at Sverdlovsk's Ural Polytechnic Institute were planning an expedition to go to the Ural Mountains with the goal of reaching Mount Otor-10. This mountain was 12 miles away from where the incident took place. This group of hikers was led by Igor Dyatlov, who was 23 at the time. The pass was
so young.
I know. They're all very young.
I mean, I guess they're college students. It's so sad.
And the pass was named after him following their deaths. And Igor was well known in their hiking club at school for his knowledge and leadership. He was the most experienced member of the club, and this was his passion, going to the mountains. So the route to Mount Otor-10 was thought to be a category level 3 expedition at this time of year, which was the most difficult. All of the students were experienced and had reached category 2 for their hikes. Upon their return from Mount Otor-10, the students would have reached category 3. And for each category, you had to have a number of hikes under your belt of various difficulty to make it to the next category.
Oh.
So if the group had come back from this expedition, they would have been able to teach others as masters of sport.
Oh.
So the trip was supposed to be a minimum of 16 days long in uninhabited areas and tent sleeping arrangements. These hikers were tough, and each of them had the experience to prove it, but even for today's standards, this mountain pass is dangerous. There were 7 men and 2 women on this expedition, including Igor Dyatlov, who was 23. He was the group's leader and was known to be good at anything he put his mind to. He was going to school for radio engineering and had a knack for making his own radio devices and a small stove that he would take on his mountain expeditions.
Oh. I'm
Yeah.
so impressed by him.
I know. They are all really interesting people.
Yeah.
Yuri Doroshenko, he was 21, was another radio engineering student who was the tallest in the group, and he was quite reserved. He fought off a bear with a geology hammer on a prior trip.
What's a geology
Okay.
hammer? Like a rock hammer?
I looked it up. I wrote these notes
Yeah.
I think 2 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
Let me look up what a geology hammer is.
I mean, I imagine it's for like breaking rocks and stuff.
yeah,
Like
I mean, it's a tough.
It's like a pick.
Yeah, it is
Oh,
like a
okay, yeah.
pick. Yeah,
Okay.
here.
Good for Yuri.
I'll show you a picture.
That's awesome.
Oh, nope, I don't want to go to the site. So it's like a
Oh, yeah.
pick.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Wow.
So he fought off a bear with that.
Wow.
Rustum, he went by Rustic. Slobodin, 23, was known as the most athletic of the group, and he graduated from UPI the year before the incident, so he had already graduated but was going on the trip. Nikolay went by Kolya. Thibaut Brignol, 23, was known for his friendliness and humor and had an easy time making friends. It's reported that he was mature and serious despite being young. He graduated from the Department of Construction in 1958. We have another Yuri, but he went by Georgi. Krivonishenko, 23, had graduated from the Department of Construction in 1957 and was considered the joker of the group. Alexander Kolevatov, 24, was studying nuclear physics at UPI and had many hikes under his belt at the time. Semyon Zolotaryov, 38, was the eldest of the group and needed this height for an upgrade at work. He graduated from the Institute of Physical Education and was a veteran of World War II. He had a mustache and tattoos, which were common for veterans to have at this time. And now on to the ladies. Zenaida, she went by Zena. Kolmogrova, 22. She went on many expeditions. One trip, she was bitten by a viper.
Wow.
And still
Dang.
carried her full load on the trip as she didn't want to inconvenience anyone.
Where was this hike where she was bitten by a viper?
I don't know.
I can't imagine that would be in Russia. Is that where they are?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Interesting. I have no idea.
at least I believe so.
Yeah.
I wrote this a long time ago,
No,
but
you're
I think
good.
it's Russian.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds Russian. And their names sound Russian.
She was elected as a chairwoman of the qualifying commissions of the UPI Hiking Club. The youngest of all was Ludmila. She went by Luda Dubinina, 20. One of the 2 ladies of this trip. Luda was an engineering and economics major at UPI. She was shot by a rifle in the leg on another tour by accident.
Holy moly, these
And-
people are tough.
Wow.
She was really brave and strong. Yeah, so all of these hikers have been through, I mean, there was a bear attack, there was a viper bite, there was a gunshot wound,
Wow.
and
They're all so young too, and like
so very young. So initially there were 3 Yuris on this trip, but Yuri Yudin, 21, I know, 3 Yuris. But Yuri Yudin, 21, was unable to complete the trip with fellow hikers due to health reasons. A kind and good friend, he would have no idea at the time that this decision would save his life.
oh, that's so sad.
It is very sad.
Sorry, my
Just
dog is making noise.
oh no, you're good. So their journey started January 23rd when the group traveled by train for 2 days to Yverdale. From there, they took a truck to Viger, which was the last inhabited settlement before the Ural Mountains. After spending the night in Viger, the group left to make their way to Mount Otorten. Because we have so many photographs and diary entries, it's known that the group reached the highlands of the mountain January 31st with the plan to start climbing the mountain the next day. So the group lost their way at some point and reached Kholat Sikal, or Dead Mountain.
Ah, how did they know that? Because that's
Following their tracks and their diary entries, I think, was the way that they knew.
okay.
Some people wondered why the group camped at this spot instead of the short kilometers away where they would be shielded from the elements better.
Oh,
Yuri Yudin offered his insight on this decision and speculated that maybe Dyatlov didn't want to lose the altitude they had gained by going back down. So they would have had to go back down in order to find a safer spot to shelter for the night. So the group was expected to return from their expedition on February 12th of 1959. When the group didn't come back right away, there wasn't immediate alarm. Dyatlov told Yuri Yudin that he was expecting the trip to take longer than originally estimated. And the route they were on was known to be difficult, and heavy snow had been reported, so there was room for an extra day or two in their journey. But family members were starting to worry after the hikers hadn't sent a telegram to let them know that they made it safely back to Viger. They demanded a search be done for their children, and a party was sent out 9 days later on February 21st. Family, friends, and fellow hikers were hopeful this would be a rescue mission. And there were volunteers from UPI, prison guards from Yverdale, Mansi hunters, the indigenous tribe in the Ural Mountains, police, military planes, and helicopters part of the search efforts.
wow.
On February 26th, the tent at Kholat Sikal, or Dead Mountain, was found. It was severely damaged and covered in snow, and there were slashes visible on the tent.
Whoa. That's crazy.
And none of the hikers were found at this site. Strangely enough, the hikers' gear and personal items were left inside of the tent.
Whoa.
This included their food, gear, personal belongings, a group diary, a camera, and their boots. Their boots.
So they didn't leave this tent by choice, obviously. It sounds like.
Well, we'll kind of get into that because
oh my gosh.
we still don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
So-
so curious to hear the theories already.
Yes, and so this is February in the subpolar Ural Mountains. The fact that they didn't have their boots or their gear, I mean, searchers found very distinct footprints in the snow. Footprints.
Whoa. No way.
From the hikers, and they were described as footprints walking or marching in the snow, not running.
That's
So remember that.
Weird.
Remember that they were not running. Some were only wearing socks, others were barefoot, and one was wearing a single boot.
That is not. That's so weird. I'm shocked.
Keek's like,
That's because, like, I mean, it has to. That means that there was a choice in them leaving all of their stuff, it sounds like.
or no
Why would
choice.
they do that?
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Were you gonna say something, Cars? No.
No, but I mean, this must have been like a big tent if there were 9 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'll get into that too. More of, the gear that they did have and what they, we'll get into it. So, okay. So searchers explained that you could see the toes in some of the footprints, and that's how they know that some of them were barefoot. So the search for these hikers continued, and on February 27th, the first 4 bodies were found of the 9 hikers. These were the bodies of Doroshenko, Krivonishenko, Dyatlov, and Kolmogorova. Doroshenko and Krivonishenko were found 1.5 kilometers away from their tent under a cedar tree next to a dead fire. Both men were found in clothing inappropriate for the elements.
Whoa.
About 12 to 15 feet up the cedar tree, there were freshly broken branches suggesting someone was trying to climb the tree.
What were they trying to get away from? Because that's my thought is like...
Skin and clothes were discovered at the base of the tree. Was someone trying to climb the tree to get away from something?
Oh.
Both Dyatlov and Kolmogorova were found between the cedar tree and their campsite facing the tent with clenched fists, suggesting that they were trying to get back to their campsite. Like they literally just fell down and died on their way back.
Oh.
Jeez.
And it's very strange because there are photos of this and you can see they are literally like just frozen in time. It is really fascinating. Obviously it's horribly sad, but it's surreal to see. So the 4 bodies were sent to be autopsied while the search for the other hikers continued, and it would be another 2 months before the remaining bodies were found. The autopsies revealed bizarre injuries to the hikers. Doroshenko had burned hair on the right side of his head.
What?
Ears, nose, lips are bloodied, swollen upper lip, many abrasions and bruises to the bodies, 3rd-degree burns on his shin and foot, and severe frostbite on his fingers and toes.
Burns and frostbite? Mm-hmm. That is
But they were found
bizarre.
next to a dead fire.
Yeah.
So they were trying to keep warm. We'll kind of get to that. So had Doroshenko survived the mountain trek, he would have needed these extremities amputated. Like he was not gonna make it with those dead extremities. So his injuries were explained by expert as Doroshenko hitting his body against rocks and ice as he was in agony due to the severe conditions and inappropriate clothing. So he was trying to like wake up his extremities.
I hate that.
But he also probably couldn't feel any bumps or scrapes as he was literally freezing. So it's that weird dichotomy of you're so frozen it hurts, but also you don't feel anything. So it's really, it's fascinating. So Krivonishenko, found next to Doroshenko, was found with a chunk of flesh from his hand in his mouth, along with abrasions, burned hair and sock, and missing the tip of his nose. And at first, this sounds like a horror movie, right? And it is. But when you read what Theodora has to say about the deaths on dyatlovpass.com, you may look at it differently. And she has been researching this, like this is her life.
Yeah. Wow.
Her entire, like it is, in this case it's fascinating. It's
it
not
is.
hard to see why. So, but she states that, quote, Krivonishenko tried to stay on the cedar tree as long as he could and tried to awaken his unresponsive hands by biting himself, or he was trying to stifle a cry. Furthermore, it's believed that the tip of his nose was bitten post-mortem by animals since there was no bleeding.
Oh, okay.
So he was already dead.
Yeah.
And my question would be this: if animals had indeed taken a bite out of Krivonishenko's nose, then why would they stop there?
Yeah.
Food is scarce at this time with the subpolar condition, so why wouldn't there be more flesh missing from the bodies if animals were involved somehow?
Exactly. Why were the rest of them not so far subject to that?
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's just my speculation. I mean,
Yeah.
someone may hear that and go, well, they didn't like the taste of him. Like, maybe it's
maybe
fair.
it
I mean,
Yeah, I want to know what animals even are around that area, too. Like
that's one thing that I didn't look up was
Yeah.
the animals. But I'm sure, animals who can survive Arctic conditions and subpolar conditions. So,
Yeah.
big cats and stuff.
yeah, I'm not
I don't
sure.
even know.
I even wrote in my notes, I mean, maybe they just didn't like the taste, but I don't think that's it.
They're picky.
So as far as the burns go, I think that this was due to frostbite and the hikers losing feeling in their extremities, and they were trying to warm themselves up by the fire and maybe got too close.
Yeah, couldn't feel the burns.
And were unsuccessful in warming their literal freezing bodies. So it's like when you're warming your hands by the fire, but you can't feel it that well, so you move a bit closer. And I feel like they just moved closer and closer.
Yeah.
So both of these hikers were found without their boots.
That's so weird.
And these injuries the found hikers sustained certainly weren't life-threatening. So why were they unable to make it back to their tent? Excuse me. Dyatlov's autopsy showed, again, abrasions, cuts, bruises on his hands, where you would find injuries from a fist fight. He had injuries to his face, suggesting perhaps he engaged in a fist fight.
Wow.
Again, these injuries weren't life-threatening, and it looks like he succumbed to the elements while trying to get back to the campsite. So, and that's also interesting because like I said, you can look up these photos, the autopsy results, and the notes from the autopsies, on the paper of the outline of a body, and they kind of write next to where the injuries are, what they think it could have been from. So a fist fight was really interesting to me to hear that. Like it's just an interesting injury when you're in a group with
like, were they fighting
friends.
about their next move or something, I wonder? Like, who knows? Because someone else had injuries on their hand too, right? But that was from, like, rocks, sounds like.
Yeah, like trying to wake themselves up. So that could also be it, was he was trying to punch and, like, try to wake up his extremities or something like that.
Well, this dude had cuts on his face too, right? Where he was,
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
I don't know,
it wouldn't make sense, but a lot of these don't make sense.
It doesn't make sense because, and I think, oh man, we'll get to it. I need to just stop getting ahead of myself. So I really want to just tell you everything, but
also, if you're frozen, it's not hard to get cuts on your hands or anywhere.
that's what I was
like literally,
thinking.
like one.
Even, like, falling on hard snow can cut up your skin.
And our bodies are so fragile.
They are, yeah.
When we are, I mean, they're so strong, but they're so fragile at the same
especially
time.
when you're, like, extremely cold, too. Like, I don't even know. Or if they're trying to climb a tree or something, too.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
There's, like, so many possibilities.
Right, and it's like, were they climbing a tree to get away from something or to get a better point of view? Like, there's so many ways
That's true,
that it could go. And while it could look like it was a struggle, it could have just been because they were so cold and, like, their skin was just coming off. I mean, it's a horrible thing to think about.
Yeah, but it's true. If you're exposed to all that.
Exposure is, I mean, people die of exposure all the time.
Yeah.
It's
Scary.
fascinating and horrifying. So, continuing on, Miss Kolmogorova's body was found with bruises, cuts, and abrasions, but she was the best dressed for the elements of the 4 hikers. She didn't have her boots on, but she had many layers of clothing and socks to protect herself as best as she could. She did have bruises that Theodora from that site, again, who has done all this research, states looks like left from a baton. So she had these really weird bruises that looked like she was hit with a baton.
Like something long and like a stick of some kind. That is so bizarre. That's a weird way to describe or like to guess what it could be from.
Yeah.
A baton.
Yeah. So on March 5th, 1959, the next dead body of hiker Rustem Slobodin was found. And this was the day after the autopsies were completed for the first 4 bodies, which is just, it's eerie timing. So Slobodin had endured injuries similar to the other hikers, but he also had a skull fracture. He had marks on his hands that, again, looked like he'd been fighting with his fists. Maybe he and Dyatlov got in a fist fight, or they were trying to keep themselves from freezing and just trying to do what they could to wake up their extremities. So he had marks on his, I just read that. The skull fracture was thought to be from repeated falls while trying to reach the campsite. But to me, that's kind of a stretch. How are you falling on your head? Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I could be wrong, but I think when you fall,
you kind of catch yourself.
But if you're frozen, maybe you catch yourself with your face. I don't know. I mean,
I know. Maybe it's like he was so frozen that his arms didn't naturally, have that reflex.
So he would have had to fall in repeatedly on the same side of his head to get the skull fracture that he has, though.
Oh, okay.
So it would have to be the same fall multiple amounts of times from the same height. And I read like we said, in different articles that it is most common for someone to fall hands first, not face first. So Slobodin was dressed better than the previous hikers and even had one felt boot on, but still not proper winter boots. So like an insole, you know,
Yeah.
of a boot. And so a murder investigation began.
Oh, wow.
Toxicology tests were performed, testimony was given, evidence obtained, maps were analyzed, the dishwasher went off, and evidence was tested forensically. The tent and everything the hikers left inside were flown out of the mountains to be set back up again at a police station where further analysis could be completed. Now, this led to a bizarre discovery.
Wow.
A seamstress doing uniform fittings discovered that the tent had been slashed from the inside.
Oh, so one of them was coming after the others, it sounds like. Or
Well-
someone came in the tent and, like, started attacking in there.
It's just bizarre that they would have to cut their way out of a tent.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like a slash to get out.
Okay.
And what made the hikers, you know, cut their way out of a tent? Sure, what led them to do that, but also what led them to leave so fast without their snow
Yeah.
gear,
Yeah.
right? Like, why would you? I don't know. It's just very odd. So these were experienced hikers going into a blizzard in 20 below temperatures. They knew the risks of leaving the tent in the apparel they were wearing, so what spooked them? And if their injuries weren't life-threatening at the time, why couldn't they return to the tent? What was keeping them apart? And some theorize that the hikers had a falling out and turned on each other, hence the bruising, cuts, abrasions to their body and hands. But it doesn't explain why they would cut their way out of a tent in such a hurry that they left without their boots and proper gear. And it doesn't make sense to me, because even if you are fighting with someone, you had a falling out, like, you still wouldn't want to send yourself and others out into these conditions without the proper gear.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So I don't know. That's just my take on it. So, but there are still 4 hikers who had not been found at this time, alive or dead.
Wow.
So we found 5. And the heavy snow and bad conditions on Dyatlov Pass left the last 4 families waiting in agony for weeks.
Oh.
So when the snow began to start melting in early May, a Monzi hunter and his dog found what is now referred to as the den. And there were remnants of items from the missing 4 hikers, which included sweatpants with the right leg cut off with a knife, the left half of a woman's sweater cut in half along with the sleeves,
What?
presumably Ludmila's, cedar branches, and a young fir tree with the top missing. And the den is puzzling for a few reasons. The first one is it shows that the last 4 hikers were alert and oriented and able to create a shelter for themselves. 2, the den was empty when found, so the hikers didn't stay there the whole time. Why would they leave the last hope of a shelter? The hikers had placed cedar branches underneath them to minimize the contact between skin and snow, which makes sense.
Oh.
But it would be dangerous to leave it.
Yeah. Go back into the elements.
But if you don't have food or water, you know, I mean, you got to make the trek. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
You're
So
not thinking straight.
So finally, the 4 remaining hikers' bodies were found a few feet away from the last attempt of the shelter. This was May 5th in 1959. And on May 9th, the bodies were examined. And I wrote in here, this is where shit hits the fan.
Really?
And I don't remember why. Like I said, I wrote this like
Yeah.
years ago, so this is
is
me
a surprise to you,
reading it
too.
over again. So, theories have swirled regarding what really happened to these hikers, and it's up to you to decide
Oh, wow.
what is the most plausible. The first body found in this group was Ludmila. She is found on her knees with her face and chest pressed up against a rock in a ravine.
Oh, what?
Her body.
Wait, can you read that again?
Yep. So she was found on her knees with her face and chest pressed up against a rock in a ravine.
Oh.
So like kneeling over
Yeah.
a rock. Her body was clothed in a shirt, a long sleeve shirt and 2 sweaters. So she was wearing multiple layers. One sweater found on Ludmila was Krivenishenko's and was brown. She also had underwear, 2 pairs of pants, and long socks on. She had more of 1 pair of socks on, and the first pair was externally very burned. So, in what is assumed to be a last-ditch effort to try to save her foot, Ludmila cut and wrapped a piece of sweater around it. Ludmila's injuries were not those of an avalanche or natural event. Instead, it said that her body and the bodies of those who were found near her were more comparable to a car crash in that they were crushed.
Oh, that's so bizarre.
So what does this mean? What happened? The autopsy notes were not as detailed as they were for the first victims. This is where you will not enjoy hearing this.
Should I plug my ears?
You don't have to plug your ears, but there is some gore.
Oh, I actually can't even plug my ear because of my tragus piercings, so I don't know.
Are you okay to move forward? It's describing how the bodies were found. It is a little graphic.
I don't know. What should I do?
It's up to you. I'm just giving you a warning.
I guess I'll hear it.
Okay.
I'll be brave.
If you need to pause, just hold your hand up.
Okay.
And I'll stop, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so Ludmila was missing both eyes. Her tongue
Whoa.
looked like it had been ripped out of her mouth and was gone. The autopsy report simply read, "The tongue is missing," according
Oh my
to
gosh.
dyatlovpass.com.
That is so
Stranger Things.
unhumanistic to even say it like that.
Yeah.
We're not done. She had a broken nose, severed top lip, broken ribs bilaterally, as well as a hemorrhage in the right atrium of her heart. Ultimately, her death was concluded to be due to a hemorrhage in the right atrium of her heart, along with the broken ribs. And it's thought that her tongue was ripped out while she was still alive, as there was dark brown mucosal mass in her stomach, indicating that her heart was still beating at the time of removal. The autopsies were performed by VA. All right, guys, bear with me on this name, okay? Vozrozdeny.
Okay.
Nice.
And he said this about Ludmila's death, quote, "The said damage was probably caused by an impact of great force, causing severe, closed, lethal trauma to the chest of Dubinina. The trauma was caused during life and is the result of high-force impact with subsequent fall, throw, or bruise to the chest of Dubinina."
How does that happen? That is bizarre.
Yeah.
So the trauma was caused. I just read that.
Oh,
The bodies of Kolevatov and Solotaryov were found chest to back, as if they're trying to keep each other warm with their body heat. Zolotaryov was found with 2 hats, short and long sleeve shirt, black sweater, and a coat. He had on underwear, 2 sets of pants and ski pants, had several items on his person. Found with him was a newspaper, coins, compass, and other small items. He did have socks and handmade leather shoes known as burqa.
Okay.
Lastly, Zolotaryov had a camera around his neck, a blank notepad, and a pen. According to Yuri Udin, this was a surprise, as there were only 4 cameras on that trip that he knew of. Why did Zolotaryov have his camera with him?
Yeah, and if they left in a rush, why did he grab those things? Or have them with him already?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we may never know, since the film was ruined by melting snow water in the ravine.
Oh.
So we don't know. Allegedly, the notepad was grabbed by Colonel Ortyakov, and he said that Zolotaryov had written nothing. He seems to be the only person to have seen this notepad, and it wasn't put in evidence, and no one else has ever reported viewing it. Perhaps he hadn't written nothing,
Yeah.
and there's a clue to what happened to these
Who's
hikers.
the colonel?
Wait, can you say that again? Why
Yeah. So,
this person found the notepad, but it wasn't put in evidence?
correct.
Why?
Because he's a colonel. Very high ranking.
So, do you want me to read it again?
He got rid of the evidence.
No, it's okay. I get it now.
Okay.
That's what I think.
It's
at
weird,
least.
yeah.
It's just my speculation, but I think
Yeah.
maybe there was something written in there, and maybe there wasn't, and maybe
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
all just stupid. I don't know.
I don't think it's stupid.
No, me, my thought
Oh.
process. Maybe
Oh, no, I don't think so.
maybe me stupid. So,
Oh, you stupid.
you know, not them, not this. Zolotaryov's injuries, like Ludmila's, were bizarre. He was also missing his eyeballs
So weird.
and had wounds around his left eye socket where bone was exposed. He also had broken ribs, but only on the right side, as well as an open wound on the right side of his skull where bone was exposed. Zolotaryov also had internal hemorrhaging. Why were they both missing their eyes?
Yeah.
That is so weird.
Well, and obviously the dude with the camera had to have known that too. Like, well, I mean, like, not that that would change anything, but those two were really close together. The two guys, right?
The two
They were, like,
guys
huddling
were.
together.
Yes, but we're talking about Ludmila and Zolotaryov. So
And those are
Ludmila,
the two guys.
she
Yeah,
was in a
she
ravine.
yeah.
And these two guys were found together,
Yeah.
huddled.
And one of them's missing his eyes. Yeah.
Yes, just like Ludmila.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna take this blanket first.
to me, I mean, again, people could say, oh, maybe this was the work of an animal. But was it? I mean, I don't know. So could it have been someone from the group who performed the orbital removal?
Ugh.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
And I think we would see more evidence of human interference if that was the thing.
Yeah, you would see on like the bodies of these people are examined. You would have seen more evidence of, you know, someone hurting another person, I think.
I don't know, because I'm also not a pathologist. I don't know what to look for or what,
Yeah.
you know, what verbiage I would need to read to understand what happened. So it's hard to know. But so let's move on to Kolevatov, and he was the one who was found huddled with the other person back to chest, like to try to keep warm.
Yeah.
So he was found with a sleeveless and long sleeve shirt on, a sweater, ski coat, shorts, pants, ski pants, and canvas pants. Kolevatov had a box of matches that were soaking wet in his pocket, and he wasn't wearing shoes. Instead, he had wool socks and layers of lighter socks underneath. Interestingly, the ski jacket he wore wasn't zipped up, which is something strange to find on someone who is suffering hypothermic symptoms. His socks had signs of fire damage, and again, this goes back to my theory of perhaps these hikers were trying in a last-ditch effort to warm up their feet and couldn't feel their toes. So Kolevatov had missing eyebrows, injury to tissue around the eyes, and skull bone exposed. His neck was quote, deformed, snapped,
Ugh.
and he had a wound behind his ear. He had an overall green-gray color with a tinge of purple.
Oh.
So the autopsies go into much greater detail on Dyatlov.com, so I highly recommend reading those if you're interested in the decomposition or the details of the wounds on these bodies. Again, there are pictures you can click on as well if you're interested, but be aware as they are literal dead bodies and that can be disturbing to some. So I think I should have been a mortician because I find them fascinating and I love looking at them because I love to understand the why and know the why. It's not that I love seeing dead people. I think that's a horrifying thing to, you know, wrap your mind around is like, this is a dead person, but also, like I said, the uncovering of the why and the how and the how did we get here.
Yeah. The theories and process is the interesting part to you.
Yeah, exactly. So the last hiker to be found was Nikolai Thibault Brignol. He was found very close to Kolevatov and Zolotaryov, but not next to them. Thibault Brignol, while referred to as TB while explaining his story because it's a long name, and Zolotaryov were perhaps the best dressed for Siberian winter compared to the other hikers. It's speculated that perhaps these two were already outside of the tent when the mysterious incident happened that led to the other hikers to flee from their tent. So could this also be evidence that these two turn on the rest of the group? I don't think so, but perhaps others would think that if they were already outside of the tent, and I don't know. So TB wore a canvas fur hat, a shirt, wool sweater, fur jacket on sheepskin. Woolen gloves were found in his right pocket with a few other small items. 3 coins, a comb, and paper.
That's so random.
He also wore underwear, sweatpants, cotton pants, and ski pants. He wore knitted socks under felt shoes called valenki, which are apparently perfect for Siberian winter.
Wow.
Lastly, he wore 2 watches, one that stopped at 08:14 and another that stopped at 08:39. He had multiple fractures to the temporal bone that extended to the frontal lobe and sphenoid bones, a bruise on his upper lip, and a hemorrhage on his lower forearm. Literal pieces of shattered skull were driven into his brain.
Whoa.
His injuries are interesting because they are very different from the 4 hikers found at the ravine. And the autopsy performed by VA Vozrovdeny stated that his fracture was not the result of a fall on a rock. Instead, Vozrovdeny offers his theory. It is my opinion that his death was the result of a closed, comminuted pressure fracture in the area of the base and vault of the cranium, with a prolific amount of bleeding under the meninges and brain matter while under low temperature. The above-mentioned extensive comminuted fracture of the base and the vault of the cranium are of in vivo origin and are the result of a great force with the subsequent falling, hurling, and concussion of Thibault Brignol. So all that to say,
He was like thrown.
there was a great force that came with this.
Crazy.
And falling was ruled out
Yeah.
as the cause of fracture. So that was kind of me like going through that. I'd
that's
forgotten
okay.
how
Like complicated.
how complicated his description was.
But
so
it makes sense that they're saying like there's no way it was just a fall.
right. Okay, so I also want to state that the last 4 bodies had. Oh, you're not gonna like this part.
Okay. I don't want to hear it then. I can't really plug
So,
my ears.
okay.
I kind of can. Okay.
So I also want to state that the last 4
okay.
bodies also had bath skin found during autopsy, as the bodies were found in melting snow and ravines. So, you're good.
Okay. I didn't hear it. Luckily, we're good.
The bodies
Now
of
I
the
can plug my ears.
I'll tell you.
Okay, actually, we didn't get to it yet,
Yeah.
so good thing you're ready. So the bodies of the hikers were all autopsied, as stated earlier, and were laid to rest by their grieving families. But that's not the end of the story. What happened to these people? We know their injuries and reported cause of death, but what brought us here? Was it a military experiment? Did the hikers stumble upon something they weren't supposed to see? Is radioactivity to blame? Perhaps a Yeti is the culprit?
Radioactivity.
You can be the judge.
Yeah, what? I want to hear the popular theories.
Oh, we'll get there. Don't
Oh,
worry.
okay.
We're on page 13.
Oh, gosh. It's amazing. You've gone through that really amazingly fast and cohesive, so nice job.
Thank you. As stated before, viewers, I type everything out because I'm not good
That
at
just
bullet
works
points.
for you.
I
That's
gotta
okay.
type it all out.
Yeah, that's
Oh
okay.
yeah. Well, and for something like this, it's
Yeah.
a lot of detail.
It's so much to remember.
It is. It's so much to remember. So, where were we? Ah, yes, radioactivity. So, we know the remaining bodies were found and laid to rest in May of 1959. At the end of the month, May 28th, 1959, the case was closed. It wouldn't be until February of 2019 that Russia would reopen this case.
2019?
Wow.
That's bizarre.
Lev Ivanov, the lead investigator.
you're
My accent
the
is just
accent.
improving. The lead investigator on the case closed the case back in 1959 because he couldn't find evidence of a homicide, and it wasn't up to him to explain what happened to these hikers. His only mission was to find evidence of foul play or homicide. In a quote from the New Yorker, Ivanov stated, "It should be concluded that the cause of the hikers' demise was an overwhelming force which they were not able to overcome."
That is
And
not explanation enough.
so, what does this mean? An overwhelming force. So, the documentary I watched was named An Unknown Compelling Force about this case.
Yeah.
And we see the injuries on these bodies, but not what caused said injuries. After the closing of the case, many officials were fired. The investigation was now classified along with all of the evidence, and I wrote, spookily of all, the Dead Mountain was off limits to skiers and outdoor adventurers for years.
Wow.
Family members were left without answers and weren't happy with the prompt closure of the investigation. And I would be absolutely pissed if it were my family member.
It's very disturbing that they're not trying harder to figure this out.
Yeah. But like they said, their job was to find foul play.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
if they couldn't prove or solve that, it's like, well, then you
else
close
can
that
you do?
murder
Yeah.
case, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't prove it. So, Ivanov kept quiet until he retired, and in the 1990s, he spoke about how he was heavily pressured to keep his thoughts on the incident to himself.
That's weird.
He wrote an article about his thoughts called "The Enigma of the Fireballs." In the article, Ivanov discusses his idea that the hikers were killed by a heat ray of some sort, or perhaps a ball of fire created by UFOs.
Whoa, what? That is not
Your
where I thought
face.
this was going. That's crazy.
Keys, I'm not laughing because of the case. I'm laughing because Keith's face is like, what?
I love aliens. Let's talk about it more.
Please take me away.
That's so weird.
So he writes about his initial view of the scene, which had odd burn marks on the trees around the area. He says that this, quote, confirmed that some kind of heat ray, say, or powerful force whose nature is completely unknown to us at least, acted selectively on specific objects. Krivonishenko's last photos taken on his camera showed an image of flares or streaks of light against a black background, suggesting this was the unknown compelling force that had killed hikers. If you buy into this theory, then you could also add to evidence the burning of hair and socks on the hikers' dead bodies, right?
Yeah.
I personally can't say this theory is incorrect, but it doesn't seem as likely to me since nothing like this has happened since.
Yeah.
However, that could be viewed as perhaps aliens felt badly about the killing of these hikers and it was an accident, so they've never done it again,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
The New Yorker speaks to Yuri Kontsevich, president of the Dyatlov Pass Memorial Foundation,
Oh, wow.
and he discusses the popular theories among Russians. This includes 2 trains of thought. 1, the hikers stumbled into an area where secret weapons for the government were being tested. Or 2, they were killed by American mercenaries or spies. So these theories are plausible, but I'm not sure which camp I fall into. So there is also this theory of radiation, but in the Unknown Compelling Force documentary, this was debunked by the fact that clothing had been swapped between hikers, and the radioactivity could be explained away by the fact that 2 of the hikers had worked in with radioactive substances in the past, and they had simply provided clothing to other members, making it appear that radioactivity was responsible.
I don't understand what radioactivity would do here, or like how it affects.
So they tested all the clothing for, and the clothing had a level of radioactivity.
Oh, okay.
And so they're debunking this by saying these men worked with radioactive substances, possibly wore these sweaters to work, and then they were sharing these clothing
Yeah,
amongst others. And when the hikers were found,
Yeah.
they had a level of radioactivity
That was
on their
surprising.
persons.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
and so initially people thought that it was a radioactive event that led to their death and demise, but like I said, it was kind of debunked, well, they had worked with radioactive
Yeah.
substance before.
Weird, but what, if it had been a radioactive thing, what would have happened? Would there have been explosions? Or, what does radioactivity mean in this? I guess I don't really get what radioactivity...
Well, yeah, I
Let's do
understand.
it.
How would it play into all these different
Yeah.
causes of death necessarily? Because they're all different, and yeah.
It's not necessarily an explanation. It's more of in addition to.
Oh, okay.
So if they were testing military grade weapons,
Oh,
maybe
okay.
there was
Okay,
radioactivity.
that would have been, proof of some kind.
The only
Or,
thing. Oh yeah,
Okay.
gotcha.
Interesting.
The only thing that I could think of with radioactivity is somehow messing with their, thought processes
Yeah,
or something. I don't
that
think
makes
anything
sense.
physically would have.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It would have to be and I guess I myself don't really understand how to
Yeah.
explain
Mhm.
radioactivity. I understand the idea of how it can really cause harm to people. Hence Chernobyl and things like
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, that's different than.
Right.
This,
yeah. So it's just something that people theorize is in addition to,
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
not necessarily
That's the answer.
correct.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, but this is also how we debunk the paradoxical undressing theory as well. So since most of the hikers Since most of the hikers ran out of the tent without proper equipment to fight the elements, it's safe to assume that when a hiker died, the others would take the clothing from their corpse to stay as warm as possible while enduring the Siberian winter.
Oh.
Paradoxical undressing is incredibly interesting, and I put in here that I'm going to cover it in another episode, so apparently I'm going to cover it in another
Good.
episode, but essentially, in the late stages of hypothermia, the freezing person experiences a phenomenon where the brain tells us that instead of feeling extreme cold, it's actually extreme heat.
Oh.
So you start taking your clothes off
okay.
because you're too hot, but you're really actually freezing to death.
Yeah.
So,
Gosh.
hence the name
How
paradoxical
horrifying.
undressing.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
paradox.
Wow.
The person will undress and then succumb to hypothermia. In the article I read, Dr. Marcus Rothschild also discussed the phenomenon of hide and die syndrome, which often comes after paradoxical undressing. And this is something that I want to read more about, as Dr. Rothschild explains that this is, quote, the result of a terminal primitive reaction pattern, which is probably an autonomous behavior triggered and controlled by the brainstem. It shows the characteristics of both an instinctive behavior and a congenital reflex. And I could read about this theory all day. So, just as a note. So finally, we look to the theories of homicide. I've read in a few places that some believe the hikers turned on each other and began killing one another, but I don't think that's likely, as I've yet to read anything about motive. There are also theories that perhaps hallucination or carbon monoxide poisoning from the heater in the tent caused one or more to turn on each other. And this is the reason for the death. Others point to Monzi, the Russian natives, as the killers. However, the Monzi were very helpful in this investigation and had positive interactions with the Russians on the search team. One theory that is particularly interesting is from Donnie Eaker, a writer and filmmaker. Thank you, Winnie, for your input. Where they posed the idea that the winds in the mountains created infrasound, which was terror-inducing to the hikers due to the vibrations below human hearing, and that the hikers cut themselves out of the tent in attempt to flee the sound.
Weird. Why would they do that? Why would they cut themselves out of the tent?
Because of the infrared
Oh, 'cause
sound,
the
or the
tent-
infrasound, which was terror-inducing because they were in the tent. If
That's
they
where
heard
they heard
this,
the sound.
if
if
they heard
did,
that,
it would only be in the
could have been
tent.
horrifying,
Oh
and
my
so they
gosh,
cut themselves out in terror.
That is so interesting. I didn't know that that was a thing.
So, I mean, the sound would have had to have been heard by all 9 hikers at the same time and created the same amount of fear in each of them for them to
Yeah.
flee without appropriate gear.
Right. But then, like, how did they die so horribly once they got out there, too?
Right, it still
Yeah.
doesn't explain
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah. It's so weird.
So, in 2019, prosecutor Andrei Kyrakov took charge of this case. He dismissed 72 of 75 theories that surrounded this case,
Wow.
saying that they were simply conspiracy theories with no factual evidence. This left only 3 theories to consider:
Oh my gosh.
hurricane, avalanche, or a slab of snow sliding over the tent.
What?
Like,
There's no way.
hurricane?
From water? Is that like,
Let's get into
isn't
it.
that what a hurricane is? Water?
So, in a 2021 press conference, the last of the 3 theories were presented as the reason the hikers died in 1959: a slab of snow sliding over the tent. The reasoning for this theory being the correct version goes like this. In the last 2 photographs taken around 5 p.m. while the group set up their tent, you can see they cut deep into the snow at right angles to help protect them from the coming windstorm.
Okay.
Later in the evening, according to Kyrakov, a snow slab detached and pinned the hikers under the tent. The initial crush from the snow is believed to have been how the hikers maintained their injuries. Fearing a bigger avalanche was coming, the injured hikers slashed their way out of the tent and ran with little to no gear with them. They fled to an area that was about 150 feet away from the tent to a rock ridge to protect themselves from the impending avalanche, but it never came. Then it was so dark that the hikers couldn't find their way back.
Okay.
I feel like this guy knows something that he's hiding, and he's like, this makes more sense. This will appease, the wonderings.
So I have a few questions. How could a slab of snow rip out a tongue, multiple eyeballs,
Yeah.
and also burn the hikers?
Right. Yeah, because even if, like, when you said avalanche, like, okay, I don't know the pressure that a crazy amount of snow would put on somebody to, like, possibly crush them. Like,
Right.
like how some of those hikers died. But yeah, but like the tongue and the eyes still would never make sense in that.
Yeah. I would like to see the layout of the areas because I feel like I can't.
Oh, there's a lot
There's,
online.
maps, yeah.
But yeah, people have very intricate and, scientific drawings
Yeah.
of what this looked like and how it would have happened. And me, myself, and I, being the professional scientist I am, I can't speak to that. I don't know, but I would like to see the science behind how the snow would rip out a tongue or the eyeballs. I mean, So you're not gonna like what I'm about to say, but if you were to be crushed and you had your eyeballs like pop out of your head, right? You would have to be very crushed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't just be like, you know, something falls on you and then your tongue rips out. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never
And
read of
happened
that.
when they were alive.
Right.
too, it said.
I think any theory is only going to be partial because, like, I think that very well could make sense as to what drove them out of the tent.
Yes, absolutely.
But then from
Yeah.
there, don't know.
I completely agree.
And some of them went over here to start a fire by a tree, and then some of them went over to the den.
And then others were by the ravine.
Yeah.
And it's very odd. So
Yeah.
the other thing is, you know, Thibaut Brignol did have skull fractures piercing in his brain. So how, if this was the avalanche or the snow slab, and that did in fact cause that skull fracture, he wouldn't have been alive to make it to the ravine.
No,
Like
yeah.
he would not have been. Okay, he would have had to been dragged. And in the words of the New Yorker article I read, snow does not lie. They could, quote, they could never have made it there unassisted. It was more than a mile from the tent, but the tracks leading downhill showed no signs of anyone being dragged.
Oh yeah, that's bizarre that like they would have seen tracks of another person in this scene with them, right? Like if there was an attacker,
Sure.
they
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
had
Absolutely.
signs. So that's something that must be ruled out too at this point.
Well, and they're specifically talking about Thibaut Brignol because of his skull fractures being, I mean, he would have been dead on impact if
Yeah.
his skull had been, the fractures had gone into his brain like that.
Yeah,
So he would have had to have been dragged by someone else, but there was just no evidence of that in the
Yeah.
snow.
Well, and
Because-
that's why.
They also would have found them sooner
Yeah.
if they had the tracks to follow a
Oh,
dragged
yeah,
body.
true, yeah.
So
Even in May though, like when everything melts.
no, but when like the initial
oh yeah, okay.
findings
Yeah.
of the tent, they would have seen drag marks
that's
if
true.
it was the slab that caused the
Okay,
skull
yeah.
fractures into his brain.
Yeah, and
Go
that's why, like, it's hard to think of, like, the tribe coming. Well, I don't know if they would have been barefoot or not. Or not the tribe, indigenous
Yeah.
people, or like
Yeah.
military or the Yeti too. Like we would have seen.
Right, you would have seen
Bigfoot.
tracks.
Right. I mean,
Tracks.
unless
Unless it was with the people in the den, like the people in the den, like that was they didn't find them when there was snow still, right?
they just found the den with all of their belongings in it, but they were the belongings to the hikers. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like it was someone else who made it. They made it
Yeah.
specifically to keep their skin away from the snow.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So interesting.
So, if you need more theory, or if you need more proof that the slab avalanche theory is BS, avalanchecenter.org describes the anatomy of a slab avalanche, explaining that between 30 to 45 slopes are the danger zone for slab avalanches. The slope where the hikers camped for the night was only 15 degrees. So, I don't necessarily buy that. I mean, like I said, like Carson said, you know, any theory is probably just part of it. So
Yeah.
it very well could be that, you know, maybe there was a slab avalanche, which is, it's like an avalanche, but like a slab of snow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, and
like
so-
snow sliding off.
So
Wild.
I don't know. I can tell you what happened to these hikers, but I can't tell you that. Oh, wait, what? How did I word that? I can't tell you what happened to these hikers, but I sure as hell can tell you that it was something bizarre, and the government may or may not be trying to keep it under wraps.
Yeah, I want to know your top theory about it. Like, what do you think happened?
I don't know.
Because then once you said, like, once you were saying, like, you know, maybe not a person or maybe a thing or something, like, then it's like, it almost makes me think, like, paranormal almost, which, I mean, it doesn't really fit. It seems very, like, different, you know, world. But, like, yeah, I don't know. What else?
I like
would
to
it
think-
be?
I like to think in terms of Occam's razor, which is the simplest theory is most often the correct theory, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So But the thing is, none of these theories are simple. And I think there are multiple things that happened to have led to this, because it could have been something that spooked them out of the tent, right?
Yeah.
But from there, and then you have, some of the hikers who died of very natural environmental, reasons, but the unknown compelling force that killed Ludmila, Kolatev, and some of the other hikers, I can't explain.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a mystery. But I think, like I said, the simplest explanation is the most probable explanation.
That makes sense.
But I don't know what that is.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's all I have
crazy.
for you.
Oh my gosh.
That's the end.
That's wild.
That's where we're left.
That is crazy.
Wow. What do you think, Cars?
I don't know.
Yeah, I would love to know Carson's thoughts, because I feel like you're very logical, level-headed, and I can be very easily persuaded. But then
Yeah,
I
me
take
too.
a step back and I try to be logical and I try to debunk things, because I think it's more compelling when you can debunk things, and then you're still left with mystery, right? So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. It's hard. I don't know if I really understand the timeline of. Well, I don't know if any of us know exactly when at what point these people died. Because
No.
since
Yeah,
it
that's
was
true.
such a long time before some of the people were found.
Right.
I think the only thing that I'm still just trying to make sense of how her tongue got ripped out in their eyes, and if it was a hurricane or whatever, I was thinking my first thought when her tongue got ripped out is Christmas Story, stuck to something on the ice
Oh.
and got ripped out.
Wow, I would not have thought
And
of that.
if it's a hurricane, that's pretty strong winds, but I don't think that would happen at the same
Picture
time.
her floating by with her tongue
Yeah,
stuck on
I
Oh
mean-
my gosh.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that was the first thing that I.
Wow.
Well, not both of those at the same time, but I was like,
Sure.
what happened? How? And then she was found up against a rock or something, right? Yeah,
Kind of kneeling and
was she in the ravine? Okay, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, but I think obviously from the start they were in the tent. Obviously, I think something happened, kind of out of nowhere. I think I don't know if that was. I think some of the theories that we've heard do make sense. The carbon monoxide poisoning,
from
could
the
be-
fire in the tent,
Yeah.
and the stove.
or honestly, hearing or seeing something
Yeah, scary.
was my first thought.
Yeah.
Obviously, you hear about bears coming up to people's tents all the time and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. That's weird. And then I don't know. Do we know if they all went to the tree together, or see, that's where everything gets jumbled up, because
As soon as they leave the tent, it's like something
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, why do they even split up?
Well, and that, I mean, it
Well,
was
it's
so
dark
dark,
out, yeah.
that
That's
you
true.
may not have seen the other people.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
I don't know.
yeah, that I don't know. I think that is reasonable to assume that someone this way, someone that way. That's just in my head how things are
Yeah,
making
it
sense
seems
right
like
now,
there were
not
two
knowing.
groups mostly, right?
Yeah,
For the most part.
And again,
yeah.
the layout is so hard. I don't know. What I'm picturing is much different than what I'm sure it actually looks like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, they're on a mountain slope. It is at a 15-degree angle, which a slab avalanche is most likely to happen at a 30 to 45-degree angle.
yeah,
So it's not likely that that would happen, but that is what the professionals say happened.
yeah,
And again, everything to me makes sense up until the eyeballs and the tongue, and
Yeah.
also the skull fracture and the crushed
Yeah.
chests.
Yeah.
I mean, there were two people with crushed chests, like they were in a car crash.
I wonder. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if the cave or the den or whatever, if they were trying to crawl under something, but maybe not. I don't
Crawl
know.
under something. What
Well,
would you crawl under?
is it spelunking? No, that's different. Cave diving.
Okay.
Like,
like
you know,
going through really tight
Yeah,
spaces and
something like
caves.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
The den is
I
just
know.
literally cut out. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
it's just a cutout in the snow. There's really no shelter to it at all.
Oh, okay.
It's just they dug a hole essentially
gotcha.
and covered it with some branches, some cedar branches to
Okay.
protect their skin. But
Never mind it.
that was about
Yeah, I
it.
don't know.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. But
Yeah, even if like, sorry, did I interrupt you?
no, I was just gonna say one more thing. My
Okay, go
first
for
thought
it.
with the tree is that they were trying to signal for help, but that was it.
Yeah, or like I think
Or-
something that I think is like they were either trying to look for the others,
Yeah.
like they're trying to get a better view,
Yeah.
or I mean, if there was something after them, maybe
Yeah.
a bear or something,
Yeah.
like could have been trying to climb up a tree, but
Mhm.
I don't know if it would be, I've heard a couple podcasts say that it was like something paranormal chasing them,
Yeah.
and they heard like a banshee
Well, honestly,
or
Yeah.
that would make more sense than some of the
Yeah.
theories.
Than a hurricane?
Well, because
Yeah.
even like a bear, you would see the footprints.
True,
in
yeah.
the snow.
Exactly.
Tracks. And they
So-
would eat the bodies. I'm
Yeah.
sure they would do more damage.
even the dead bodies, like if there was someone trying to run away from a bear,
Mhm.
someone else could have already been dead on the
Mhm.
ground, and they were trying to escape. And
Yeah.
I mean, the bear would have just taken what they could
Yeah.
have. I mean, it's like preserved meat. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
bad.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's just so weird. I
Mhm.
can't remember what I was gonna
yeah.
say.
Sorry, feel bad.
No, you're good.
I was saying what was I saying before that? Before the tree thing.
We were talking about the den,
Oh,
the
the
crushed.
den with the
ribs.
branches and the crushing and the. I'm
Or are you trying to help
I'm
me?
trying to help you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I
Oh,
was gonna say,
dang.
but thank
Okay.
you.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's just weird. I think I was gonna say like, I was gonna say even if there was something like with some kind of military group or them seeing something from the government that they weren't supposed to see, they would have covered up, that scene better if there was a group in control of what was happening. Like,
You would think so.
like, oh, these people stumbled on something they shouldn't have seen. They know that people can uncover what happens to bodies. Like, I feel like that would be crazy if they didn't try to cover that up more,
And they would have made it disappear. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of my
exactly,
thought. Is like
exactly. there wouldn't be evidence necessarily.
right. They wouldn't have left anything for people to find.
Yeah.
Like they just would have
But yeah,
swept it away.
Yeah.
So-
What if there was a doppelganger out there though? Like something scary,
Or
I don't
just
know.
their doppelgangers. Came
Yeah.
Oh, that's so scary.
Um,
That reminds me of like It Follows and like
Ooh, that movie's so good.
we should.
know.
We gotta watch scary movies for the podcast.
Can
Or
we
for
please?
I don't think I
Can
can,
we
do it,
please?
you guys. I
I'm
really
so
don't
down.
think
Do it
I
during the
can. I don't know.
Or something.
We
We gotta
even
watch
watched
something.
we watched a movie that you guys would like. It's new. It's called like Trap, I think, on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's number
yeah.
2
Yeah.
on movies.
saw that.
Yeah, it's not new, but I guess, but it's like on there. We just
Yeah,
watched it, and
newly
it's
added.
like it's just spooky. It's like spooky stuff, and I was
Mm.
like up late thinking about it. I was like, and it's like about like a guy who's a serial killer, and
Mm.
he gets the concept is really good, but it's just still spooky. Like he's like abducting a popular artist who like. It's just crazy. You guys should watch it. It's good. They trap him at like a concert for his
Oh,
daughter's
that's
Oh,
right.
yes,
like,
and it's a
Yeah.
sting operation to catch the person.
Yeah.
I read the description of
Yeah.
it because
Yeah.
I was looking for something to watch
Yeah.
last night because I
Yeah.
finished Great British Baking Show again.
Oh
so.
yeah, so naturally good.
So naturally,
Something scary.
well, I watched
I love
Women of
that
the Hour
show.
finally,
that
and that
is.
was really good
that's right. Yeah.
with
I
Anna
wanted to see
Kendrick,
that.
and
Didn't you
it's
guys
about
watch-
Rodney Alcala.
I was
Oh,
talking to
have
Oh
you-
yeah, we
You
did.
hadn't-
Yeah, that was good. That was scary.
I haven't seen it,
The-
but I've heard of the.
With Rodney Alcala.
Oh,
yeah, I've
it's
heard
so
of the
scary.
situation.
He's
but-
just disgusting.
Yeah.
It's a really after the movie I listened to the 3-part Morbid series on it again, and it just the movie really they do a good job at covering a lot of the murders because and they're pretty close to what actually happened.
It's so scary.
But
I think I need to take a break on scary stuff for a little bit. It's freaking me out.
Until
I
next
don't
week.
like it.
there's
Yeah, at least.
well, yeah, sorry about that. That's just
the nature of the.
the nature of me. But it was disturbing to see, knowing the background that I know of Rodney Alcala, it was disturbing to see them reenacting this kind of
Yeah,
thing
I'm
because
sure.
it just really drives home what happened and what those people went. Oh man, yeah. It's even for me, it was
Ugh,
kind of rough to
yeah.
watch, and that's like, I mean, we just talked about dead bodies and decomp and the fascination behind it, but still, I'm just like, but how you get there is horrible.
Yeah, seeing
so
it from like, you know, experiencing the emotions of like a movie portrayal is really intense.
it made me want to cry.
Yeah,
just
I don't like that kind of stuff.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a really good job, and they did a good job of casting for Rodney Alcala.
Oh,
I mean, that guy
such
was
a creep.
he was great, but that's what he was supposed to.
Yeah.
You know, he was supposed to make you feel scared, and he did that. So
Yeah.
anyway, that was just something.
Yeah.
Like another tangent to go on,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I highly recommend watching An Unknown Compelling Force. It's a great documentary.
Yeah.
And everything that I talked about today came from a reputable site. I mean, it is all out there. It's very well documented. You can
Yeah.
read all about it. But the last thing that I want to touch on was something that I didn't really bring up. I kind of just said it as a one-off, but people really go into detail about the last few pictures that they took, which one of them was that black night sky with these streaks of like
Okay, yeah,
balls
that's
of fire
really
in the air.
bizarre.
And so that's where the balls of fire theory comes from.
Right.
I would like to see that picture. Like if there
It's out there,
is
I
there
think.
a picture online? I would be interested in seeing that.
Yeah, you should look it up. It's all very interesting. So, but I wanted to touch on that one more time because
Yeah. I wouldn't even have
it's-
thought of that, but it makes sense to check the cameras. If they have any pictures, that should be a really big indicator.
well, and the one camera found on the person of one of the hikers, was completely destroyed in the
Yeah,
ravine water. So it's like that one we'll never know. But
Yeah.
it also could be like, I don't know, what if I think of the cameras today, and I certainly don't know what cameras were like back in 1959, but cameras today, if you take a picture too fast while you're moving, I mean, it kind of gives you that
it's true.
streak.
Yeah.
It's true. And pictures, like cameras from a long time ago.
It makes you
like-
wonder. I don't know.
Yeah, even like when we used to get little disposable cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Anything can mess up your shot, like a little bit of light coming in. Like, yeah,
So-
it's just interesting. But
Could be
Yeah.
explainable, could be
Yeah.
unexplainable,
Yeah.
but tell us what you think.
Yeah.
We would love to know what your theories are. If you have things that contradict my theories, I mean, tell us all of it. And thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Cool.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Like at the end of Toy Story.